Welcome to By the Horns, a Bitcoin podcast about South Africa. I'm your host, Ricky Allardyce. By the Horns is proudly brought to you by Bitvice, the only place in South Africa where you can buy self-custody sats by default, because leaving your sats on the exchange is playing with fire. All right, guys, so today I'm joined by a returning guest and friend of the show, Kgothatso, here to discuss his latest project, Machankura. Machankura is a Bitcoin and Lightning wallet that runs on the USSD framework, meaning it's a Bitcoin wallet that can operate without local internet access. The implications for this in the African context could be huge, as it means that millions of people who were previously excluded from Bitcoin because they don't own a smartphone or can't afford large amounts of mobile data are now able to utilize Bitcoin on a basic feature phone. Before we jump into this interview, I'd also like to invite you to join the beta testing group for Bitvice's new product, SatStacker. SatStacker is a direct to self-custody Bitcoin stacking service. It allows you to set a recurring purchase order from your banking app and run it on repeat to accumulate Bitcoin in small amounts over time. This is the first product of its type in South Africa, and we're very excited to get you on board to help you to stack sats and for you to help us to test this product. If you're interested in joining this testing group, please use the link in the description below. With that said, over to my interview with Kgothatso. Kgothatso, welcome back, bro. Good to have you. How you been?
Man, it's all good. How you been?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, congratulations on
Thank you.
You and the missus.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. That's why the podcast hasn't been around for the last couple of months. Actually, it's been a very hectic time in my life. Got married, went to the UK, went to Turkey, did a honeymoon there. And I've used this excuse before on the pod for like having a brief hiatus, but that was my first marriage. My wife and I are getting married 4 times. It's ridiculous.
What you mean? What you mean 4 times?
Okay, so
what happened to you only get married once?
No, that's bullshit. So the first one was in court, next to Mavericks there in town, which
okay,
is,
nice location there.
Yeah, if you've been to Home Affairs in Cape Town, you know what I'm talking about. And then we had a small family wedding here, very, very tight. Like 15 people, and then we had a wedding in the UK where my wife is from with all of her family and friends. So that was like a big white wedding. So that was the last big one that takes all the organization. And so I got Bitvice and I got my day job, and then I've got the podcast and something, and then I had the wedding. So something I had to give, unfortunately, was the podcast. So anyway, we're back, and you're the first interview we've done since I hiatus. So good to have you. And
thank you, fam.
Couldn't have a better guest, because man, I'm so pumped about what you're busy working on. Before we jump into that, let's maybe just give people a bit of an intro. So for those who've seen you on the pod before, you started a project called Exonumia, which as well, I'll let you explain Exonumia before we jump into what you're working on now.
Yeah, so exonumia, in a nutshell, is a translation project that's looking to translate literature that explains how Bitcoin works into African languages, right? And yeah, I'd like to thank the By the Horns podcast for all the shout out through all the episodes that you guys had screamed out, exonumia and what we were trying to do, right? And I really appreciate it. I wanted to actually tweet that By the Horns is actually my favorite podcast, so I'll probably be tweeting that out on one of the accounts, right? So basically with that, the main thing behind the project is trying to not make language a barrier when someone wants to adopt Bitcoin, right? So all the viral literature in the Bitcoin space is in English. Actually, I might not know. There might be other viral literature in other languages. Just because I don't read the other languages, I wouldn't know, right? So but that's still covered. Yeah. So most of the viral literature that I know of is in English. So I'd like to have that in African languages, so that people in my community and other communities across the continent could have conversations about Bitcoin, and if you have not had a conversation about Bitcoin with a group of Bitcoiners, you would know that it's a vast conversation, broad conversation. You talk about self-sustenance, energy, finance, inflation, the Fed, ending the Fed, taxation is theft. All of these different concepts on all of these different topics. Marriage as well, like how do you orange pill your wife? So I would want those conversations to be more easily accessible in African languages. And yeah, so that's the whole point behind the Exonumia project. I'd like to apologize to everyone who was following the project. I kind of got sidetracked myself with Machankura because I kind of literally haven't published a new translation ever since I started the Machankura project in May. But I have done other things. And the other things, it's almost a direct consequence of Machangura. Right? So anyone who has seen the logo for Machangura, it's basically the Bitcoin B outline, and inside it is like the old telephone logo. Right? And yeah, the outline also looks like a phone booth, kinda. So yeah, when I was visiting Bitcoin Ekasi, sometime around June, I was listening to a podcast, a Bitcoin podcast as well, and I was like, "Damn, this podcast is so good," But how does a person without internet access it? Um, and this was not too long after I did a collaboration with Bitcoin Ekasi and Bitrefill, where we did this Bitcoin introductory video and translated it into multiple South African languages as well. And then I was like, yo, I know that those guys are going around the neighborhood sending it via Bluetooth and spreading that video as much as they can, or sending it via all of these different means that they could share it with. But in internet is not the primary way that they're sharing it in. So I was like, what if there could be a toll-free number that a person could call in and listen to some of this content, So either listen to the Bitcoin white paper in isiZulu, or that introduction video that we did, and so on and so forth. And yeah, so I think that is the only exonumia related thing I've managed to do ever since starting Machangura. And even then, I just have the proof of concept. I haven't really taken the time to make it as feature rich as the website, because there's still a lot of work behind that, like getting a person to narrate. Yeah, I think the interesting thing with the translation project as well that we did with Bitrefill and Bitcoin Ekasi is that a good narrator captures even the attention of a person who does not understand what they are saying, So the Xhosa version of that video was done by a friend of mine who's a poet. And yeah, the whole reason I asked her to do it is because she's a poet and she's performed and she knows how to grab the crowd attentions. And yeah, so that video turned out so well that people don't even want to hear background music. They just want to hear her voice, just talk. And I was like, okay, cool, there's something here. And so I'd like to do narrations of that quality in other languages as well. So, but obviously that's not going to be the case. So whatever is done is done. But yeah, so that's the Exonumia project in a nutshell.
Yeah, man. So, okay, so exonumia, people know about it. It's been going for a little bit now, and it's been, I'm sure it's going to be very successful in the future because, there's 1 billion people on the African continent who need to get Bitcoin text in their home languages. But let's get on to the new project we've been working on, Machankura. So I played around with it last week. I was blown away by just how simple it is, and that's a good thing, right? Like, simplicity is next to godliness. Like, do you mind explaining to people just exactly what Machankura is and what it does and why it's going to be so powerful? Oh, you're on mute there, bro.
My bad. So yeah, so to the people who don't know, every phone, every cellular device has something called USSD support, and USSD basically it allows you to send interactive messages with another service, usually the telecom company. And yeah, so in this case, I'm just dialing the code. Oh, that's the Machankura logo, by the way. And yeah, you should see a menu pop up at the bottom there. Well, you can't see it because the camera quality on my laptop is not that good. And so yeah, the menu then is like an interactive SMS thing, so the user can enter text, and then you can respond to that text in a persistent session, and that session does not get stored in the user's history whatsoever. But it's obviously an SMS clear text, all the security posture that you would expect from SMS or GSM technology. This it was before S meant security in most of these protocol. I actually don't even know what the S stands for in GSM. Yeah, and so now a person just dials a code *134 *382 *382 if you're in South Africa, and then you can just see the menu, and then the menu, if it's the first time using the service, gives you an option to register an account, learn more, or whatever, and yeah, so that is the thing that I like about it. And I even had a user manual. I put together a user manual this weekend, right? So for each country, like how a person would go about using the service, and the only instruction in each country is that basically they just need to dial the USSD service code. That's it. And from there, a person can figure out everything else that they need to do with the service.
So, in a nutshell, it's the same framework that you would use to convert airtime into data, right? So you type in like a star something, so
Yes.
star code. It then
Mhm.
opens up that series of menus. It's like press 1 for this, press 2 for this, press 3 for this, and then it takes you to a
Mhm.
successive series of menu screens. And what you've done is you've worked out a way to host a Bitcoin wallet and a Lightning wallet through that framework. So
Basically.
the implications of this are that people who don't have a smartphone, who can't download a Bitcoin wallet, or maybe don't have data, they might have a smartphone, but they don't have data to run a Bitcoin wallet, can now send and receive Bitcoin. Have I got that right?
That is exactly what it is, man.
All right.
So,
So in order to just demonstrate this, I've got some sats on my Machankura account over here.
mhm.
Can I send this? Can I send some sats to you right now
Oh, for
across the
free,
network?
man. I'm always a fan of getting free sats.
So I'm here on the. So you can see I'm on this got the menu over here. Okay, and then I go send BTC. So one's to send Bitcoin. Now it runs a USSD code. Okay, then very cool. I love this. What unit of measure do you want to use? Sats or
Mhm.
ZAR? So users can choose if they want to send Sats or send random amounts, and then I presume it does an exchange rate and sends that across, right?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna send in Sats. Cool. Okay. How much Sats you want to send? Cool. I'm gonna send you 50 Sats. Okay. Right. Now I can choose between phone number, lightning address, or your Machankura username. So your
Mhm.
username is Sigilidi, right?
Uh,
Spelled right.
Sigidli.
Sigidi.
Li. Li.
Okay.
I texted it in the chat just now.
Yeah, I saw it in the chat, but it's now it's disappeared. Okay. Let me just see that again if I got this right. Sorry, guys. I clearly don't know how to find the chat in this thing. Anyway, okay, so let me just double check. Sigidli.
Yeah, that's it.
Correct, right. So now I'm sending you 50 sats. USSD code is running. And do you get an SMS on your side when sats being deposited to your wallet?
Not for 50 sats. I'm sorry.
Not for, no, but that's good thinking though, right? Because the
Yeah.
SMS cost. So you've got
Mhm.
a threshold built in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So had we had this conversation last week, I would have gotten an SMS. But yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the
Mhm.
SMS costs you 18 cents to send, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, if you can't be doing that. Okay, so something went wrong there. Let me try again. I probably typed in your address incorrectly. Okay, so I'm going to send sats, and I'm going to send 50. Cool. It's always tricky doing these things live, right? This is I
Yeah, no,
how you run
that's
into bugs
that's
on a product. It's bold
mhm.
move.
That's exactly when the thing that never breaks breaks.
Exactly right. Okay,
Oh
let's see
damn.
if it works. Okay, enter your PIN. Oh, so that's the other cool thing. You've secured it with a PIN code.
Mm-hmm.
So even if someone gets, because obviously USSD is not secure, so if someone gets access to your phone, they still
Mm-hmm.
need to know your PIN code.
Yeah,
Okay,
bro. Exactly.
right. I think I put my PIN in incorrectly. We'll try one more time, guys. This is what happens when you test in prod. Okay, but now, so if how does it work in the back end? What's the tech stack you've used to build this? While I'm busy scanning it, you explain how this works.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, I run a web server that responds to all of these messages that are coming in, right? And from that point, my web server also
Sorry,
communicates with. Say what?
I kicked myself out of the stream there. Sorry.
Damn, man. Treat yourself with love. Treat yourself with care.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, yeah. But I was saying that I basically run a web server that is sent all of these messages that you are inputting and all of these SMSs, right? And yeah, this web server is then in communication with my Lightning node. And yeah, from that point onwards, I keep a balance for each of the users on the system, right? So all that happens is that you create your account, you get a lightning address, and then for that lightning address I keep track of all the lightning invoices that I create, because LNURL basically issues lightning invoices from a lightning address, right? The LNURL spec. So I can keep track of which users a lightning address was used to create each and every one of the invoices. And when an invoice gets paid, I credit your account balance, and that's about it. When you send out a transaction, I then query my database to say, oh, who do you have enough of a balance to make this transaction? If you do, I then send out that transaction via my node, right? So I'm basically running a node on behalf of the users. And yeah, I think the other interesting thing is, because we have load shedding, I kind of set it up in such a way that I can run multiple nodes. Yeah, so if ever a payment goes wrong, chances are all you have to do is try again, and one of the other nodes will probably succeed, right? And yeah.
Okay, so that raises a couple of interesting questions.
Mhm,
So first off, you basically running an Uncle Jim model essentially for your users. You're running a
mhm.
node, and they are storing all their funds on your node, which means it's custodial solution, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's like Wallet of
Yeah,
Satoshi, but via
yeah,
USSD. Mhm,
yeah. So I think it's important for people to understand that on-chain Bitcoin being self-custody is pretty easy, but with Lightning, self-custody is actually pretty tough. You've got to run
mhm.
your own node first off, but then you've also got to do your own channel balancing and all of that. And it's actually like it's quite a tricky thing to do. So yeah, getting that working is quite tough. So I understand why you've gone the custodial route. Um, you did mention something the other day in our group chat that you were looking at a self-custodial option for this as well. What'll that take, and how would you implement that?
Cool. Yeah, so for the non-custodial version of this, right, for it to work, this is basically what needs to happen. Right? You need something that's securely holding the private keys that unlocks your Bitcoin. Huh? That is what all hardware wallets or signing devices basically do. And it just so happens that your SIM card can hold these things securely, can hold cryptographic keys securely. And what we are exploring is basically, how do you then sign a Bitcoin transaction on a person's SIM card and broadcast that transaction to the rest of the network. Yeah, so that is how we are aiming to allow users of Machankura to hold Bitcoin non-custodially. But not only that, they can also do it for Lightning, technically speaking. There's things like Blockstream Greenlight that allows you to run a node on behalf of a user, and you just pass on all the transactions that the user has to sign, Lightning transactions that the user has to sign. So yeah, whenever a transaction comes in, I just send it to your phone, and then your phone signs it and then returns it back to me, and then I'm like, yeah, the Lightning transaction went through successfully. So we're exploring also how do you do that on a mobile device, so via the GSM infrastructure. And yeah, so it's been a fun project so far. We went from this is not possible to wait a minute. Ledger did this in 2013, 2014. Latest commit is 2016. To wait a minute, this can also work on an open platform that is not Ledger's software. Like have PSBT support. And all of this jazz. I think Spectre also has Java card support. Java card being the technology that the SIM cards run. Spectre. So if you have Spectre DIY, you could actually use a Java card to sign Bitcoin transactions today. So what we just have to do is then add all the other aspects of the project, like GSM support. How does that device then get messages onto it, and all of that good jazz? And yeah, so but at the end of the day, I think most of the users are still going to be on the USSD app that is custodial, because as you have forgotten your pin, that's a different story. If someone has forgotten whatever pin is then encrypting their SIM card. Right? So you can reset your pin now on the app, but if we do this non-custodially, chances are you will not be in a position to reset your pin. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's the benefit of custodial. But also, it speaks very much to the target market that you're going after here. The target market that you're targeting that use USSD that will likely be using this service, going straight into the self-custodial solution is the wrong approach. You're going to struggle to onboard users like that. It's too much. I mean, it's tough for Bitcoiners who've been in the space for a long time to figure that out. So yeah, baby steps, I suppose. And then tell me, what exactly are the features offered currently in the app? Like what can you let users do? You're on mute still, bro.
And I started that response with so much energy, man. Like I want to stop using the mute button. But yeah, so the main functionality and core functionality of the service is sending and receiving sats, to your Lightning address and sending it out to other Lightning addresses of any other wallet in the space that is compatible with the Lightning address, right? And then you can also redeem Bitcoin. So we have an integration with Esteco. If anyone doesn't know who Esteco is, Esteco basically sells Bitcoin vouchers. So a person could literally buy a Bitcoin voucher, which would be on a piece of paper. Let me get mine. Something like this, I'm bad with camera angle. So yeah, anyone who'd like to try this code, maybe I haven't redeemed it, so just go to the USSD interface, receive BTC and redeem BTC, and type it out. Basically, then you can get sent that Bitcoin to your Machankura wallet. But this also works with their normal website, and with any other Bitcoin wallet that has Lightning support, you can withdraw to a Lightning wallet. And yeah, so the cool thing with them is this is not even an Azteco voucher. This is a one for you voucher, and they have an integration with Azteco to redeem one for you vouchers into Bitcoin. And if anyone has seen this cow before, they basically knows how widespread this cow is across the South African country. The township and the rurals. These are the people that sell airtime, basically. That sell all of these other cool things at the spaza shops. So this integration basically makes Bitcoin the most accessible asset in South Africa. So yeah, and also having it redeemable via USSD interface is just then the best fit in the world. Yeah. And while I'm still talking about this, I'll have to say and mention that the craziest thing is that this is so convenient. My main target audience, as I said, is the people without internet connected devices. But I've gotten quite a lot of questions from people I can tell primarily use the internet connected device and just used this integration because it's just so good or just so easy to use. And now they're asking me like, oh, how do I get this on a normal wallet? Because they now want to get it on their main wallet, right? And I'm like, yo, that main wallet you're using doesn't have Lightning support. There's nothing I could do to help, right? But yeah, for me that speaks to how good or how convenient it actually is, whereby a random person is just like, oh, this is probably the way that I'm going to use to buy Bitcoin. And yeah, as you said earlier, dialing this is similar to loading up airtime, and I don't think a lot of people are used to scanning a QR code to redeem Bitcoin or to receive a payment, which is how the Azteco website works. So yeah, it's almost as if this UX was waiting to happen. Yeah, so after you're done redeeming BTC, now you have Bitcoin on your wallet. What do you do with it? What I recommend doing is going to your brother, your sister, your uncle, your wife, your mother, your grandmother, and telling them, yo, grandma, let me send you some Bitcoin, and explaining to them how Bitcoin works. They will get an SMS about being gifted Bitcoin. You can send them to their number. You can send the Bitcoin to any number actually, and then we will just send them a gift for that Bitcoin. They have 7 days to claim it. If they don't claim it, it returns back to you, depending on how you send it. If you send it via Lightning, I don't know if I'll be able to send it back, but I might work on something just because I've got taught a new trick. And yeah, so there's that. And what else is there? So the other thing that's there is, now let's say you have orange pilled your whole family. Hyper Bitcoinization starts at home, obviously. So what do you guys do with your sats? Well, it's all good and well to hold your sats. Bitcoin is savings. The longer you hold your sats, the better. But just in case you're tired of using the rand or any other national currency you are being subjected to using in your country, you are free to use Bitcoin as a means of payment. And we have a few integrations that allow you to buy airtime in SA. I think, across the continent, you can buy airtime using Bitrefill. I think they support pretty much any phone number in the world, so you can just buy airtime with them, send them the sats, and the payment goes through. Everyone is happy. And in South Africa, just earlier today, by the way, activated an integration that allows people to buy airtime and to buy electricity using sats, and that integration is via CryptoConvert, what's.cryptoconvert.co.za. So yeah, you don't even need to use Machankura to do that. You can just visit the website I just said now, what's.cryptoconvert.co.za, and it should work. So most of these integrations work primarily because of the open nature of the Lightning Network. I barely had to do too much conversations with all of these people, whether it's Bitrefill, Azteco, or CryptoConvert. All I asked was maybe APIs here and there, but from that point, I just send them the sats, and everyone is happy. You still mute.
When you press a shortcut and it opens something else.
Nah.
we have a user error here. So I have some other news. I have successfully sent 50 sats to you, so that worked.
Dope.
So obviously you won't get the SMS, but the sats went through, so can confirm that it works. You can send sats around. Super cool. So the question then is like, how do you scale this? What will it take to scale? How many and how many resources will it take you to scale? How do you pull this off?
Okay. Yeah. So, scaling is a tricky word, man. What do you mean by scaling? So, technically scaling, or what?
Yes,
User
at your
scale?
with your current deployment of your tech stack,
Yeah.
what number of users are you able to serve, and how many more users, like, to bring on, the whole of South Africa, for example, 50 million people?
Yeah.
What will that
Okay.
take?
Yeah. Yes. So, I'm at a
From an
point where
infrastructure perspective,
yeah,
not like
from
marketing and all that nonsense.
okay, yeah. From an infrastructure perspective, I think what I have might be able to service like the whole of South Africa, even if that happens overnight. But also upscaling servers is not that hard to do these days, right? So the tricky part might be on the Lightning side, which is where I'm a little scared, right? And I'm scared because this was just a hobby project. I had just set up my Lightning node on a Raspberry Pi, and then I'm like, okay, cool. Now that I have a Lightning node on a Raspberry Pi, what am I going to do with it? And yeah, I just had this idea of this project, and I was like, oh, cool. It's a great thing to do. And then, fun fact, I'm running this project on a Raspberry Pi as we speak. 2 Raspberry Pis. So I believe that is the aspect of it that cannot scale. So I'll need to move those nodes onto beefier hardware. But everything else was kind of written and designed in a fashion to serve Africa. And even the fact that I set it up just so that I can run multiple nodes on it was me thinking about, okay, just in case one node goes down, because this is a Pi, cheap ass hardware, I'm not meant to be running this hard. I need to be able to easily move nodes in and out of the system without going down, right? I think LND, I think Blue Wallet went down earlier this year for a few days, where I was like, it would have been nice if they were running multiple nodes on behalf of their customers, right? So yeah, that is what I did, and that is a scalability thing as well. So if at any point traffic just surges, all I have to do is switch on a new node and set up some channels on that node and probably sunset my Pis, because I should be playing old arcade games on those things and not use them to pass on sats to the continent.
I mean, so a Pi is like 1,000 rand piece of hardware, right? Okay,
Yeah.
your hard drive, your SSD you plug into it is like triple the cost of a Pi. So
Imagine.
Yeah. So you running this project on 2 Raspberry Pis, man. So I work in tech as well, and I look at what we spend, on deploying projects and our infrastructure costs and all that stuff. It's monstrous, to have a native app out there, with a slick front end and all of that stuff. Like, it costs a fortune. If you don't mind, you tell me if we can't talk about this, but like, how much do you ballpark is it costing you, or has it cost you, to spin up this project?
Okay, yeah. So the server side stuff, that's cheap. You can set it up in such a way. Like, I think the guy who runs Have I Been Pawned always said he wants to keep his cost down to like a cup of coffee. a cup of good coffee, that is,
Yeah.
so I'm there from that server side, but the expense is obviously telecoms.
Yeah.
This isn't. Yeah, yes, it's cheap, like what, in 18 cents per SMS. But to activate the service, to activate the USSD service, to keep it running on a month to month, yeah, the costs can be quite high. And I think they average around 1,500 per country. But some countries, the more or the less economically active countries that do not get that much attention from tech companies, you would end up having to pay more. Think like
Mm.
there's no cap to how much you would have to pay. Like, I'm even trying to get the service up in Zimbabwe. Uh, and I think the code for that was like 1,000 US dollars to just to set it up. But I would understand, and I would be like, okay, cool. This is Zim. It had sanctions for years, and the infrastructure in terms of human capital is no longer in the country. So you'd need to actually pay quite a lot to get this thing done, and pay quite a lot to keep it operational as well. Right?
But
Yeah,
in the grand scheme of things, so that's your cost to access that market,
yeah.
$1,000.
Hmm.
That, and I mean, if you put on your like VC hat and you think about like like access to
Yeah.
market cost, like that's nothing.
Mhm.
It's absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Obviously, as
Right.
a hobby project, you're like, well, I think I'm definitely gonna think twice about that.
Yeah.
But if you
This is
think
some
about it
very
as a,
great coffee I'm
you know,
buying.
yeah. But as a
Hmm.
business, it's absolutely
Uh-huh.
nothing. Like this is people pay consultants this for 15 minutes work, and they
Yeah.
tell you
Hmm.
nothing. So,
Most
yeah.
definitely.
Okay, so it's not just limited to South Africa, is what you're saying. Like it can
Yeah.
scale through Africa, well, globally, really, but through Africa would be the aim, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I'm aiming for. I'd like to see this in all the African countries. Yeah, and I think I've been telling quite a lot of people that technically this feels like an extension of the exonumia project, just doing something
Mm.
else. And just in the same fashion that I wanted the translation in every other country, I want the service in every other country as well.
Okay, so now talk to me about centralization and like censorship resistance here. So I could
Hmm.
see how if people were sending Bitcoin from Zimbabwe to South Africa and vice versa, or from South Africa to Zimbabwe, let's say it's
Hmm.
the expats, the diaspora sending money back home via remittances.
Hmm.
The Reserve Bank, etc., could get pretty edgy about this. How censorship resistant is this? Can you be taken down pretty quickly? Will the GSM network censor you, or how does it work?
Okay, well, let me start off by addressing the point that you are making with regards to people getting edgy because other people are sending money, right? Or sending Bitcoin, my bad. So I actually read, and I don't like reading all these central bank notices around Bitcoin, right? Because they just spend too many pages to not say anything. But
Yeah.
the common consensus in all of them is that they do not issue Bitcoin, right? Or integrate with any other country that issues Bitcoin. So technically, they don't care what happens in the Bitcoin space. They just warn users to use it at their own discretion because of scams and risks and everything associated, and the bad light that it's been painted in, right? So uh, but then from a censorship resistant perspective, let's take it into two parts. So the first part, let's say, is what happened with FNB before the more recent central bank news that tells them you should bank crypto companies. FNB basically was shutting down accounts of companies that deal with Bitcoin or crypto, right? And yeah, for me in this project, technically can work without a bank account, right? Almost all my service providers, I can pay them in Bitcoin. Uh, Either directly or indirectly. So from that perspective, as long as they're willing to accept my payment, all is good. I barely ever need to use a bank account to make the service run. And two, was this. From a telecom's perspective, this is their infrastructure. Technically, if they wake up tomorrow or if they decide to not sleep today and switch it off, there's nothing I can do about it, right? And that is part of the reason I'm choosing to also start working on the non-custodial version of the project, because it has a few elements whereby it may be able to work even with a hostile government, right? But from what I read, even with the Central Bank of Zimbabwe's what's this word, notice on Bitcoin, right? Most of these countries or central banks are not even hostile towards Bitcoin. Right? They are hostile towards fiat on ramps and off ramps. So that is one of the things you might notice on the project. I don't sell Bitcoin. I don't buy. I don't give the people to give the feature to people for buying or selling Bitcoin. Right. So yeah, they get really concerned as soon as you become a fiat on ramp or off ramp, because it's not just them, it's the FIC as well. You need to register as a, is it fiduciary or whatever the word is, a financial service provider?
Depends. Not yet. The regulation's
Uh-huh.
not enforced yet, but at some point, yes, they will.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on my side, then just to address the point, as long as this is a Bitcoin only project, the Central Bank of South Africa is just warning people against using my service because it's a Bitcoin project.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Even the
so the
mhm,
so the potential choke points are the network operator
mhm,
limiting your access to the service, but you say there's ways and means to get around that.
mhm.
And the second aspect, I presume, would be you, because you custodying people's Bitcoin. So to
Yeah,
address that, have you been looking at Fediments and what they're doing to
yeah,
potentially
no,
outsource that to the community, and they can custody their own keys in some way, shape, or form?
yeah, I actually looked at it, and yeah, it won't be passed on to the community. Of course, it will just be passed on to people who are working on Machankura to be the federation, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, but I think now with even with music too, just because of Taproot, there is like lightning channels that have multi-sig support. I think Loop kinda is running on that now. Lightning Loop is running with Music 2 support. So yeah, I'm gonna explore having that on my side, on my operational side as well. Yeah, just set it up. So there's two ways it could go, right? It could either be so secure that even me, I don't have access to the node or in the size that sits on them, or multi-sig is the way. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's very, very cool. So, if you can build in that resilience and the censorship resistance into it, then you really, really are onto something here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so last thing we want to touch on is just your roadmap. Like, what's the future hold for Machankura? How do you want to roll this out?
Okay, yeah. So priority number one is have more countries, right? Support more countries and have more features and more ways that a person can spend their Bitcoin. Let me say this now. I personally do not like all the integrations I have that allows a person to spend their Bitcoin. There's a reason why I don't like them. And the reason is those integrations keep a circular economy from happening, right? A circular Bitcoin economy, that is, right? So sats get to my community via a one for you voucher, and then sats leave my community via a purchase of airtime. Right? And no one in the community ever had to receive sats in exchange for anything else. So yeah, I don't know what would need to happen to actually have that community of Bitcoin usage, right? But that is on the roadmap. Something like Bitcoin Ekasi, so on and so forth. Uh, And that being said, all these integrations serve a very important purpose, right? So the purpose is for people to get used to using Bitcoin, for people to believe that, oh, if I can receive this Bitcoin, there's actually something I can do with it, right? That's actually why I didn't take Bitcoin the first time I was offered 1.3 BTC in like 2016, right? Yeah, so don't laugh too hard, man. Don't laugh too hard.
No,
There's
it's
that.
painful. It's painful, man.
Yeah, no, laugh now, cry later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is definitely on the roadmap. More countries, so and even more features like more integrations whereby a person can buy pick and pay voucher and total voucher because Bitrefill already has these, right? So even though just said I don't like them, I appreciate them very much. Right?
Mm.
They serve a very important purpose. A person needs to understand that, okay, I could use Bitcoin as a form of money. This is just a technology, but I can use it as a form of money if I wanted to. And what else? Oh yeah, so the other thing I was thinking about, and yeah, I like podcasts, because you can always say something and maybe people won't pick it up. But to a person who understands what I'm saying, Moon Wallet is a very great wallet that a lot of people use. It's probably the best, most downloaded Bitcoin only wallet on the space or in the space. Why do you think Moon Wallet is doing so well?
That's a good question. The self-custodial aspect of it, or like self-custodial-esque aspect of the Lightning,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe I think it also has to do with the fact that they're from Argentina and they deal with oppressive governments and hyperinflation for 50 years. I mean, dealing with that nonsense. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're a bit closer to the coal face and they appreciate what is required to keep your money in your own hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then UX
Okay.
and all that stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I've been asking myself that question uh quite a lot recently. Uh, and even from a UX perspective, I personally have thought that Phoenix Wallet has had better UX for the longest time. But I believe that a Moon is the best swap based Bitcoin wallet in the space. You going from Bitcoin on chain to Lightning, Lightning to on
Yeah.
chain. All of these great ways. Once your sats are on Moon, you don't even care that whether or not
Yeah.
it's on chain or off chain, right? So for me, then that is on the roadmap, right? I need to add on-chain support and not even have a separation between the two, because a person technically doesn't care what it is. So a person shouldn't care whether they send sats to a phone number, a username, a lightning address, or yada 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 yada. Right? They just want to send. And even yeah, so that is a thing I had, an idea I had recently on some. Why is Moon so good, or doing so good actually, when it has some slight issues here and there that pop up? If you're technical, you just see, oh man, whatever issue that person is having is because of Moon. Right? I already know when someone says, oh, my payment didn't go through because of whatever reason. Oh, you're using Moon. But they do what they do so well, because a person wants to receive Bitcoin. A person doesn't want to know there's a difference between on-chain or Lightning, right? So that is definitely on the roadmap on my side. And yeah, I think with this project, I hate being a mad scientist, so I'm gonna do a crazy thing of running both core Lightning and LND. Uh, Maybe even added a 1/3 Lightning implementation just to say I did it, right? But yeah, so that is the other thing that is on my roadmap, like have both core lightning and LND nodes sending and receiving sats on behalf of my users, right? And a person who's listening and just heard my reasoning maybe understands why I'm adding LND to the mix. But yeah.
All right. All right, Kgothatso. So where can people follow the project? Where can they find out more? Where can users get hold of this? What number do they need to dial? And then more importantly, well, maybe not more importantly, but as importantly, if someone is interested in investing or getting involved or helping out, how can they get hold of you?
Yeah. Okay. So basically, the website is 8333.mobi. I'm very happy to have gotten that domain. Whoever was sleeping, all you domain squatters who are sleeping on the job, y'all better drink some more fire, because hey man, I got a 4-digit domain, and it's the actual default port for Bitcoin, to anyone who doesn't know what 8333 means. So yeah, so it's 8333.mobi.
Matt Odell kicking himself.
You know,
Matt Odell will want to sit on that one, sleeping.
yes. Okay. Yeah. So I got that recently even. Yeah. So it's 8333.mobi, because people, I don't know why they take the triple as double sometimes. And from there you can see all the USSD service codes that you could dial to actually access the service. And from that point onward, you'll be having fun, basically sending and receiving sats. Our Twitter account is Machankura 8333. So yeah, just look for the spelling of Machankura in the video somewhere, and append 8333 to that. So yeah, and yeah, we're on Twitter. If you set a username and send us a tweet that this is your username, we will gladly welcome you with some sats. The community has been very welcoming. Let me just say that. By we, I don't mean myself. I don't have to send sats anymore. I just post a tweet saying, "Join me in welcoming Ricky to the community by sending sats to his Lightning address." And yeah, that has been great so far. And if you have any questions or suggestions, I'm always keen to listen and answer whenever I have an answer. You'll find me on Twitter as well. But yeah, so it's Machankura 8333 on Twitter.
All right, awesome, man. I think we're going to leave it there. Brew, this is amazing what you're doing. I think this project has got such long legs. It can really, really be something amazing. So if anyone wants to get involved, reach out to Kgothatso. And also, one other thing we didn't mention, you can fund your Machankura wallet yourself from your own Lightning wallets. If you have Lightning wallets, go set up your Machankura account. You create an alias for yourself, and then you just literally send sats to that address. It's super easy. I did it. I sent 100 sats over, so you can send a tiny amount. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, no, right. Even with Moon, that does not have Lightning address support. You can just go to 8333.mobi/ your username or your phone number, and then you will have this tab that says having trouble with QR code. I should have just said for Moon users, and then you just click that, and you get to enter amount you want to send. A Vault 11 invoice will pop up that you can then scan with your normal Lightning wallet, and yeah, your sets will arrive.
Brilliant. All right, Kgothatso, until we meet again, my man. This has been great. I'm sure I'll see you soon, and all the best, bro. It's
yeah, thank you for having me.
My pleasure, bro. Have a good evening, Cheers.